live now. Does that kick
We're
over?
live. Yep, we're live. Hey, Scott.
Cool. Hey, Robbie. All right, man.
Yeah, not too bad. Not too
Good. Happy
bad.
holidays.
Trying to recover. Yeah, it's good. It's my daughter's birthday on Christmas Day, so it's always
Oh, that's
always a
fun.
fiasco.
She's gonna get the shaft. My wife's birthday is the week before, and she always gets the shaft. Like it's, you get that birthday / Christmas present.
Yeah, we're gonna need a bigger house for the number of presents that she got though, because it's like overdone.
Yeah.
And plus, like Hanukkah is like right beforehand, so she had like
Oh yeah,
8
so
days
she's
of
dialing
presents
it
there.
in.
Yeah. This morning she was laying in my bed and she was like, "Daddy, like, can every day be my birthday? Like we would be broke. There's no way." Yeah. So it's fun.
That's
You have a
really
good one?
cool. Good for her. That's fun. All right, dude. So let's. I'm excited about this conversation. I think that there's, so the topic of the conversation today is, in the future, will there still be a need for sales stages?
Yeah.
I emphatically think that there will be, although like I could probably be. I don't know if I can be persuaded on this one because I do think but I'm keen to hear your argument for why they would be going away. But I also think that there's, certain industries, like if you're in PLG, you might not need sales stages because by the time like somebody's ready to buy, they're ready to buy. Like, all right, you just kind of like process it. Kind of like we were talking about last week, like you tried to buy the software that you used last time, they put you through a whole sales process, and that's annoying.
Yeah. It's super annoying. And I don't think that they'll be there. Like I mean, sales stages, if you think about it, they're just like summaries of like where the deal is, but I don't think that they're the actual good representations of that. And plus, like the way that they're defined, it's like, hey, here's like, you're in this stage if you've done these things, and then here are the things that you do in this stage to get out of it. But like deals never follow that linear process. So it's like basically the whole thing is like you go from this stage to this stage to this stage, but deals never follow that process. So it's very confusing to even know what stage something is in. And oftentimes things like don't fit neatly into these little boxes that we've created. But it's all basically like because we need to track where things are in general, right? And that was our answer to that. Like, okay, how far along is this deal, right? Where is it generally? And I want to be able to zoom out and look at my entire pipeline and see the shape of that. Like, what can I expect? Okay, it just doesn't like represent reality that way, and I don't think that that's like we can do better than that now. Like, we can use AI to.
How much of that do you think is poor sales leadership compared to that's just not the way that things go? And I'll give you an example. Like at when I was running Cloudinary, I actually built 2 different sales processes, one for inbound leads and one for outbound leads, because they should be treated very differently, right? If you're calling me, like you have some idea how the product works, and that was a very PLG led product. Like I didn't have to put you through like some rigorous, gnarly sales cycle. I just, hey, is this the right solution for you? We'll give you a demo. Like we'll count your units or minutes or whatever the transactional process was, and then you'll buy it. I'm like, it's pretty easy if it's inbound. If it's outbound and like you have no idea who we are, it's a little bit more rigorous in terms of what you need to do. So my question to you would be, how much of the sales process and your kind of experiences with sales process is due to poor leadership defining that process versus that's just kind of the way things are?
Well, I think sales process and sales stages are 2 different things, right? I think you can still have a sales process without having like necessarily like sales stages, right? I mean, like when I think of a sales process, it's kind of like, here are the things that we know need to get done to get this deal done. And let's just like take like the true like 6-month like enterprise outbound case, right? We know we need to get through procurement. We know we need to know their pain. We know, we need to understand, their metrics and inputs. We know we need to know like how they're going to calculate ROI, and we know we need to present that to them and like get them to like buy in and take that and change. Like there's all these things that we need to do to get this deal closed. Now my problem with stages is like stages are taking these like this bucket of things that you need to do and putting it into like an order, which like on paper is logical, right? Like, yes, you do this and then you do this and then you do this, but in reality things don't follow that order. But you still need to get all those things done, and it can confuse things. And it's like, well, yeah, we're in procurement, but like we got to go back and like, they just hired this person. We got to like re-demo them, and then they want to look at this thing and they wanted to run a little pilot. But we are in procurement. We did start that process and like whatever, right? Like doesn't follow that neat bucket. Like there's no sales stage to define exactly where that is. So you just kind of like, well, this is the one I think it's in. It's like the closest guess.
I feel like it's a little bit like building you're kind of making your favorite recipe. You know, if I'm making, I'll use macaroni and cheese because it's like the easiest and everybody loves macaroni and cheese.
Your favorite recipe, macaroni and cheese.
Macaroni and cheese, right? Well, again, it's easy, right? It's some noodles and some milk and some cheese and some heat. But like if you put the milk in first, or you put the cheese, I'll use, you know, if you put the cheese in first, like your macaroni and cheese sucks. Like it completely falls apart. So you can mess with your recipe a little bit. And when I think about like sales stages, I think about it more as like the recipe. Like, hey, you know what? Oh, I got to this stage. Oh, I don't have cheese. Well, now my recipe is completely fucked, right? It's not macaroni and cheese anymore. It's just like shitty macaroni noodles and milk. I guess not very good.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
So
no, I see what you're saying, but I still think that's like the difference between like a process and then like actual stages. Like you can have a process without stages. Like why do you have to categorize as like you're in this stage? It's like first you do this, then you do this, then you do this. It's a spectrum, and it's not like this like quanta of stages, you know.
So you feel like the process is okay, but just the definition of where they are in that process is wonky.
So here's the thing, like stages are purely a reporting mechanism, right? You want to look at a report that says like these deals are in these stages. And then you can look and you can say like, well, on average, like deals last this long at these stages. So I can project that forward. And, you know, if our close rates per stage are the same, and like maybe for really large data sets, this works, then I can project this much revenue, right? Like you want to like generally know where things are at. I just don't think like stages are because like we have a lot of data on this stuff. If you take like the median time that an opportunity lasts in a stage and the average time that an opportunity lasts in the stage, the average is always way higher than the median.
Sure.
So like the point is like whenever that happens, like there's a long tail, right? Like there's not like, it's not like a good definition to use, right? Like it's not like things are very noisy, and that's like the case like across the board, right? Like sometimes deals last 6 months in procurement, and sometimes it takes a week, you know? And so really the context of like what situation are we in, right? Is this a 6 month in procurement thing, or is this a 1 week in procurement thing? You're going to behave differently.
Yeah, of course. I think that's like an interesting thing. So let's just take a stage called procurement, right? Like I know that there's some things that need to be done in order to get through the procurement stage, right? And those things that need to be done are that's my sales process. All you're like, from what I hear you saying, Rob, is like you just think like, okay, you've got a well-defined sales process. Do you need to have these call outs periodically?
Yeah. Well, I mean, so take the procurement thing, right?
Yeah.
Like is procurement at, you know, Yahoo the same as it is at Nike?
You mean in terms of their process and how long that it should take and all of that stuff? Yeah. No, definitely not. No, they're two totally different companies.
Yeah. So you need to get through procurement. You know, you have to get through procurement, right?
Yep.
But like we can't define what that means on our end. Like we just can say like we need to get through procurement, so we can have a stage called procurement, but it doesn't like inform the rep on like what exactly they have to do in there, because you're gonna have to do different stuff for every single deal.
Well, and again, I think that's where sales process comes into play. Like basically what you're doing is you're just breaking up your sales process into chapters, right? And some chapters of books are going to be 1 page and some chapters of books are going to be 100 pages. So if you have, is it beneficial to a sales organization to say, okay, in this first chapter, here's all the things that you need to do. And in the second chapter, here's all the things that you need to do. Or do you just think it should just be like one long chapter and that gets you for like the entire story?
Well, it's okay. So so you're on my point here. So the chapter,
maybe I'm swaying myself here.
I mean, the chapter could be like 5 pages, right?
Yeah.
Or it could be 300 pages, and it's actually like 3/4 of the book. You know what I mean? So bucketing both of those into like the same blanket statement, like we're in the procurement stage, like that doesn't really like tell you when this deal is going to close and the amount of work that needs to be done to get that deal closed, just because both deals are in the procurement stage. So my point is, if you had like it's more like a spectrum, right? Like here are the things that you need to be done. Hey, for this deal, we have to do 100 things in procurement, right? Because they have zip, and then their legal has to get involved, and then they have this like new like AI board that needs to review this. Oh, and we need to like fill out all these documents because they have operations in South Africa and Australia and in China and Japan, and like they all have different regulations. We have to abide by all of those, so we have to do all those things, right? That only exists for company A. Company B doesn't have any of that stuff. So putting them both in this bucket of procurement and looking at a report that says, hey, we have 5 deals in procurement, like doesn't actually tell you the reality of what's happening. And this is my whole like point with stages, is like company A and company B, yes, they're both in procurement, but they're not the same. Like they're not, like that's not a predictor of like when it's going to close, the amount of effort that's going to take left to close, and the amount of resources that you need to allocate to the opportunity A and opportunity B to get it closed.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, it's interesting because like now, like I think that you've just proven that MEDDPICC works. And like, yeah, you could not have the terms, get rid of the term procurement. You still know what you need to do. Like at some point you have to go like, okay, like this is where this deal is at this point, right? Because like if I'm in a procurement stage, that's very different than I'm in the very first call stage, whatever you want to call these things. Like again, all you're doing is just like breaking the book up into chapters. And
I mean, you've been part of deals too, where like you have to go through the RFP process, which is almost kind of like a mini procurement. Like
I would never ever put a deal at RFP in procurement. Like that's just not.
Well, no, but I'm saying like it's kind of a similar type of process where like a lot of times they'll make you go through some sort of security review and like whatever.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah.
Before they'll even consider you as a potential vendor. And then you go through the sales process, right? And sometimes it's these big companies like a Nike or, whatever, where like, you're like, okay, well, if we do want their business, we have to do what they would ask. Like we can't get around that.
Otherwise, I'm not arguing that. You got to do it like if you want Nike's money, you got to do it like Nike wants you to do.
Yeah.
But you still need to go like, is your argument against stages around like it's just not a good representation of forecasting? Is that all?
It's not a good representation. Yeah, it's not a good representation of forecasting, which I think is its primary purpose, right? It's not even
on that.
And it's not easy for sales reps to know what stage that they're in, right? Because of this whole thing where, every deal is different and they don't follow like our nice linear sales process. And so even just like, okay, we have 6 stages or 7 stages or 4 stages, like doing things, like the more granular you are, the more predictive power it supposedly has. If I have 12 stages, I can say, okay, well, it's here then, right? So if I'm like a quant, that's what I would want. But the more stages that you have, the harder it is to get it right, for the sales rep to get it right? Because it's like it's more well-defined, and it's like less tethered to reality. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I do. And I hear what you're saying. I think like when you look at, or at least in my experience, when I've looked at, I don't know, 50 or 100 deals that have been done over the course of X time, you start to see a lot of similarities and a lot of parallels. And you can start to go, okay, like, well, how come these deals closed in 20 days? Oh, well, these deals closed in 20 days because they had already used us in the past and they want to use us again. And we just kind of process paperwork. Oh, well, how come this deal took 180 days? Oh, this deal took 180 days because it was a cold call. They'd never heard of us. And we had to give a demo, and then we had to go build some initial interest. And then we had to go convince some other people. And then we had to convince some more people. And then they got us into their process. And then we had to convince some more people. And then they got us into procurement. And then we moved along our way. Like those are 2 very different kinds of deals. And you're right. Like the sales process isn't going to flow there. But if I took 10 deals that closed in 20 days and 10 deals that closed in 180, you start to see some similarities amongst those. And then that allows you to really define your overall sales process. whatever you call those chapters, like nobody really gives a shit about that. Like, chapter 1, chapter 2, chapter 3. You don't even need to give them, silly names. We just kind of have done that historically, so that's what they get now. But I think
it's one of those things, like you said, it's just like that's just what you do, right? Like Salesforce is set up this way, and HubSpot is set up this way, where you have to define your stages. So it's just like, okay, if you want to run sales at all, you have to define it this way. And I think like a better way is actually like some form of like MEDDIC, but like more, I mean, it's like a framework where it's like you want to understand these things. It's like a question, like answering exercise, right? It's not necessarily like process, right? Like there's nothing in like MEDDIC that's like, then here's where you run the POC, and here's how we define like ROI, and this is where we do this presentation, like whatever. Like you still need some sort of process overlay on top of that.
Yeah.
But then again, like you need like I see like all the time where it's like there's these organizations that are just like super rigid around following their process, right? And like you're going to lose deals that way.
Oh,
like
100%.
Really what you need something that can like understand the current context. So it's like, hey, this is a deal where they said they've used us before and they want just paperwork. I suggest you do this next, and then if you do this, it sounds like this can close here, right? Then here's the predicted close date. You don't need a stage. Right, it's like, hey, we're 50% the way through.
Yeah, I want to give you a credit card. Don't put me through your process. Just let me give you money.
Yeah,
and I agree with you. I think that there's a lot of companies that make getting kind of giving people their money a challenge.
Yeah.
So I it's hard to argue that that whatever you call your chapters, right? Whether I call it chapter 1 or I call it discovery or I call it discovery 2 or whatever, like. That doesn't really matter as long as whoever's like running that process understands like it's kind of a choose your own adventure model more than anything else. And like that's how I've always structured these when I've built them out is, hey, where do we stand now? What do we need to do to get to this endpoint where you're actually giving us some money?
Well, imagine you're like a new sales rep. Exactly. Yeah. So imagine you're a new sales rep, right?
Yeah.
You're working for Gong or something like that. Like, when do you actually ask for money? Like, does it say in there? Like in the process you have, it's like, wait, I got to do these 50 things before I can even ask them for money. Why? Like if they're asking me for a contract or something like that, like why do I need that? Like why do I need to wait to ask them for money?
You shouldn't. I mean, but that's just silly rigor that I think inexperienced heads of sales and experienced CEOs kind of force their people to go through. Right. But like if somebody shows up, wants to give me money, like, fuck, I'm taking that money. Like what's the least amount of work that I can do in order to get money from you is really like the right question. Like every salesperson should be asking.
Yeah. I mean, there should be some due diligence, like make sure that they know what they're buying and like whatever, right? The basic stuff. But yeah.
That sounds
like remove. Yeah. It's more work in between the commission check.
Like that's really the question. Like every salesperson should be asking. Like what is the least amount of work that I could be doing to get money from you? Now nobody can ask that because it's rude, but like that's what we all want to ask. And then, but like if you're like a VP or a RevOps person likes to overcomplicate the shit out of things, then you're going to like come up with like all of these different frameworks and stuff like that. And it's kind of goes back to early in my career. I had a guy that worked for me that was really, really good salesperson, a guy called Anil. And Anil like would make his order by like the 10th of the month and then just kind of like go into like accelerator mode and kind of coast probably a little bit more than I would have liked. Like I would get like my balls busted by my VP at the time, who would just be like, why isn't Anil like pounding the phones? And I'm like, dude, he's already at 100%. It's like, if you can get to, going back to the sales process and sales stages, like if I can get to whatever closed one is as fast as possible, like don't force me to like kind of jump through a bunch of hoops. The hoops are there more as like the recipe to make macaroni and cheese. Let's make sure like you've got all of your ingredients so you don't get to the end and go like, fuck, I don't have any cheese. My box didn't come with the cheese powder. It's like I'm getting to the end and it's like I'm having like this great thing of macaroni and cheese. And if I want to modify it, I can throw in, I prefer sriracha, but throw in whatever.
Yeah, sriracha and some bacon. I think that's a
good combo. That's the way to go.
Yeah.
That's a good way to go there.
So I've thought about this a lot because like we see a lot of this data, right? Like this is where I became like really convinced that like stages are kind of meaningless because like they're like one thing that we'll do is we have to work with stages because everybody's set up that way. But we have like every customer put in their entry criteria and exit criteria for each stage. That way we can like take like all the data we've collected, like all the calls and emails that have gone back and forth and understand like the gaps and like whatever, and then predict the stage. So like we have like AI say, hey, here, based on all this information, all the context that we've gathered across this entire deal, I think it's in this stage. Right. And then you have like the rep for the true stage, right? Like that field that they're picking. And there's always a ton of disagreement there.
Oh, absolutely. I would imagine. Is your system more accurate than the reps, and what's more conservative?
Yeah, I mean, it's definitely more accurate than the reps because it has the full context and it actually understands. And that's the other thing. It's like you get handed this like handbook, like here's our sales process at this stage. Here are the entry criteria and the exit criteria. And it's just like, it's so confusing. Like use a sports metaphor. Okay, so imagine like when you ever like try to change up your golf swing?
Yeah, all the fucking time.
Yeah. So when do you hit it poorly? Like when you're standing up there and you're thinking like, all right, I got to keep my left arm straight and I got to like, not like rotate my wrist too much. And I got to be at like parallel when I'm at the top of my swing. And then, I want to follow through and I got to like dip my back shoulder. Like when you're thinking about the mechanics of it, like you perform poorly. Like the Minnesota Vikings have like a quarterback too, where they're like trying to like change his entire throwing motion and he sucked. He was like literally like the worst quarterback in the last like 40 years of the NFL or something like that. And then they just like, hey, you know what, just play. And then he started to just play and he was doing really, really well. Right. And I think like when you have all of this like process and rigor and stages, it's like basically you're forcing the reps to like think about the mechanics of their swing while they're mid swing.
I feel like that's just like a general lack of preparation going into the deal then. Right. Like you shouldn't be thinking about stuff, right? Like if you're trying to tweak your golf swing in the middle of a round, you're fucked. If you're trying to like tweak your quarterback throwing motion in the middle of the season, you're fucked, right? And similarly, like if you're going into a sales meeting and you're just trying to like do it on the fly without any kind of preparation and knowing what you're doing, like of course you're going to botch that one. But like that's more of the, I'm, as you know about me, Rob, like I'm a huge believer in like preparation. So like I want to make sure that if I'm going into a sales meeting with anybody, it's like, okay, like what are we trying to do to get this from stage A to stage B? Like I don't even care like what we call the stages. It's just like this is where we are today. This is what we want the outcome of this next thing to be. How do we get there by this particular day?
Yeah. And so it's not necessarily about the stage. It's about like how do we progress this deal? Like how do we
call it whatever you want. Yeah. But we just know like everything has like a story arc to it, right? And we know that it's like we try to make these sales process as linear as possible so that you've got you have this consistent process that everybody can kind of check in on. You create this universal language that everybody uses. And I think that there's a tremendous amount of value there because that way, if I say, hey, Rob, like, hey, what's going on with the Nike deal? And, I don't have to listen to you pontificate for 30 minutes about like what's happening with the Nike deal. You can just go, oh, it's in the procurement stage. Oh, okay. Like that's interesting. Now I kind of have like a visual representation of where that is. Oh, tell me a little bit more about like what's going on in the procurement stage. Oh, well, like we got to go through this and this and this, and it's probably going to take 3 months to do it. So, okay, cool. Like, is it forecasted accurately? It is. Okay, great. Like we know.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think like whatever you don't necessarily need to have the names of the chapters.
For you being good, right? Like knowing what you're doing, not everybody is there, right? I mean, so take like a super fast growing company where it's like half of your sales team, if not more, has been around for less than like 3-4 months.
Oh yeah, that's even worse.
Yeah. Like how do you get them up to speed super quickly, right? Like there's no option except to have them work on their swing mechanics while they're in the middle of the round, right?
I'm not sure I agree with that. Like it's not like they're like unless you've got like a massive inbound flow where they're spending like at WebEx, like we would get, I'm dating myself, but like we probably get 5 to 10 inbound leads a day. Like you were just on WebEx calls all day long showing this shit off. And when you weren't on inbound calls, you were making outbound calls to go and show this stuff off. And it was great. It was like the nicest like sales environment I've ever been in. But we had this like crazy alien technology. Like it's hard to imagine like what you and I are doing now. Like we kind of invented that. And like screen sharing, like we invented that. Nobody had ever seen that stuff before. So like it was alien technology then. Right. So like, okay, I've got these 3, 4, 5 people. They've been in the role for 3 months. Like, how do you get them speaking the same language? How do you get them doing the same things? Like, as a leader, you have to put some rigor in place and say, like, okay. And part of like your job as a leader is to go, okay, I'm going to make a bet on this is the right way to go. We're all going to march in this direction. And if it's not working, then we'll change course and immediately change. But like part of your job as a sales leader is you got to sit down and you got to look at that on a regular basis and figure out, okay, what's working, what's not. And you're constantly tweaking it. Like, I think if you have a sales process that lasts more than 6 months, like unless your stuff is going gangbusters, like you should be tweaking that all the time.
Yeah, you need to be tweaking that all the time. I mean, I think the shared common language thing is for sure a big thing. I think that's process, and that's like here's like in an ideal, like the platonic ideal of like how an enterprise sale would go at our organization, right? Like first we do this, then we do this, then we do this.
Yeah.
Right. And so like having that to fall back on where it's like, okay, well now I need to do this thing, right? Okay, now we have like this doc that's like helps us, I put in these metrics and it spits out the ROI in a nice presentation format, and then I share that with my champion, right?
Yeah.
Like whatever. Like you need to have something like that in place, absolutely. Right. I think getting back to like the stages thing, like as a reporting mechanism, it's not a good reporting mechanism. Like it doesn't tell you truly where you're at.
And again, I think it depends on how good of a manager you are on it. Like it's rare. Like I'm a big believer in aging and staging. So I really enforce that pretty hard when I run an organization. Like I want to look and do the math and figure out how long has something sat in stage. Let's just call it stage 3 for the sake of like, who cares what the title of it is, right? If it's in stage 3 for more than 20 days and the average is 12 days, okay, well, that's a problem. Like what's going on there? Why is this 8 days over the line? And like, what do we got to do to move that? And usually like, it's like, oh yeah, the person went on vacation or whatever. It's like, all right. Well, now we know we can push that one back. But as long as they know what are they going to do in order to go from whatever stage 3 is to whatever stage 4 is in your process, who cares what the stage itself is called? And then I think part of being a good leader is you're also, if you're using that as a forecasting mechanism, you're on a quarterly basis looking at that and going like, okay, we had stage 3 at 38%. Did 38% hold true? Was it 40%? Was it 32%? And if so, why? And let's adjust that accordingly so that we can have more accurate numbers.
Yeah. I think nowadays too, though, with like the amount of data we can collect, like I think of it as like 2-dimensional. Like something sat maybe like something could sit for 20 days in stage 2 and still be healthy.
Oh, absolutely. And yeah.
Some things could sit in 20 days for stage 2, and it's because like they're not responding to you anymore. Right. So it's like it's a signal that there's something interesting there. But I think like those signals are you would rather be notified on that second scenario, right? Like, hey, there's something wrong here. Right. Not in the one where there's something right. So it's like it's still noisy in that case where it's like, okay, yeah, they went on vacation. They're in Europe and it's July and nobody works. So okay, totally expected.
Yeah.
But yeah, hey, they we did the POC and we presented the results back, and then they haven't responded to the 4 follow-up emails that we sent them after that. Like that's where I want to like plug in and understand like that scenario. Like, okay, is there anything that we can do to rescue that, or is it completely dead and we just like close loss it and move on?
Well, and again, that goes back to there's nothing wrong with losing a deal as long as you lose it quickly.
Yeah. I mean, you're going to lose deals. So, it's like you end up in the Hall of Fame as a baseball player if you bat 300. I think similar probably stats for enterprise salesperson.
I think that if you one of the things I think is important is when you look at sales process, sales stage, and so on, is that you're looking at it across a large number of deals. Like it's really difficult to do it on a case by case basis. So if you look at it across, let's say 100 deals, like you should be able to build out a pretty good sales process and good sales stages there. And then you kind of take each individual deal as a one-off as part of that map there. And again, like if you kind of do it with recipes, like, yeah, you can cook your noodles for less time and you can get them al dente, or if you like your noodles mushy, you cook them for longer. But at the end of it, like what has to come out of it is something that quasi resembles mac and cheese.
So I think, so my point here is that we actually can analyze deals at that level of detail right now to like pinpoint the ones that like you do need to pay attention to. So it's like there's two dimensions,
which is hugely valuable.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I think of it as like it's a two-dimensional thing. There's like deal health, which is like the likelihood that it's going to close, right? Like, are they engaging with us? Are they doing the right things? Is the deal progressing? Are they pulling like more stakeholders in? Like all the things that would indicate like a good, healthy deal. And then on the other spectrum of that is like, well, how long is it going to take to get this closed, right? Like based on the contextual information that they have told us. And it could be that like, hey, we have a project in place and we have budget for, April 2026, right? But we want to like start these conversations right now. So, it might take a long time to close, but like they're engaging, they have budget, they've told you all these good things. So it could be like very healthy, right? So now you want to keep an eye on that because like time kills all deals and things can go sideways whenever. And then there's other things, right? Like, maybe it's not healthy, but like the close date was actually supposed to be like in 2 weeks, right? So what happened there? Did they go with a competitor? Did they do something else? Is there anything that we can do to rescue that? And then you want to know that information in real time. Like somebody sends in a new email and says like, hey, sorry, we're leaning towards, competitor, right? Appreciate the time. Thanks, goodbye, or something like that, right? Like you want to be able to know when that happens. Like the whole team needs to know when that happens. So before the last day of the quarter. So if there is anything that you can possibly do to resurrect it, like, hey, okay, well, interesting. Why did you go with the competitor? Oh, they have that feature, like they're half the price. Well, hey, let's talk about that then. That's something that we could help you with, right? But you never get the chance to have that conversation if that information isn't bubbled up and you're looking across, somebody like you who's running a team of like 20, 30 people who each have like 20 opportunities in their pipeline. You have the 600 like opportunities in your table that are like going to close at some point in the next like 3 to 6 months. Like where are the ones that you can plug in and like really, really help, right? The ones that like require your input and your understanding. And like there's no like stages that you can set up that's ever going to surface information because that's like not how they're designed. And if the ultimate goal is like not just to predict revenue, but to also like close it, right? And close like bat the highest like batting percentage that you possibly can, then like that's not a good solution for that. Like you need that other contextual information.
Oh, 100%. Like the more data is obviously always going to be better. You mentioned something there, Rob, that kind of piqued my interest. While like, I know it's a GTM Engine podcast, sponsored podcast, let's plug it here. Do you have the ability, and we can always edit this part out if I ask you a question that's a dumb question or something you don't do.
We're streaming live, so Cat's going to be out of the bag.
One thing that I think would be really interesting would be, do you have the ability to listen into questions that prospects ask that could then surface like, oh, they are probably looking at these competitors based on the questions that they're asking?
Yeah.
That would super valuable.
Yeah. There's a whole, so like the way that the system's set up, like we built this, what we call like common customer data model. It's like modeled after like the whole like service, non-common service data model, but like, so we have products, right? And then like every opportunity is associated with a product or a SKU. And those products have competitors. They have like company ICP, they have persona ICP, what type of companies would buy this product, and then what type of people at these companies would, buy this product, features, competitors, all that stuff, right? So then as these questions come up, we can start to infer like, hey, if they're looking for this, and like sometimes people will explicitly mention that they're looking at competitors, right? Or they're using an incumbent or something like that. And you want to know, okay, well then this becomes like our strategy has to shift a little bit, right? Like they care about this thing and they're using, or at least looking at like competitors A, B, and C for this as well. Like what's our angle here? Like how do we present ourselves in such a way that like if that's the thing that they care about, like how are we better than these competitors? Like what's our secret sauce? And that's 100% something that we do, like out of the box.
That's very, very cool.
Like it can even go as far, this isn't like quite built yet, but like building like a file. This is a super boring name for it, but like a file store, right? Like you upload like all your case studies and like all that stuff. We can adjust that and suggest things, but even build kind of like Frankenstein case studies. So it's like, hey, they're in this industry, so this case study would be relevant to them, but they said that this is their use case. And we also have this case study, but it was from a different like type of company, but it was the same use case, right? How can we like stitch these together and do like a custom case study that we can then send to them? Then how do we like notify the rep that like, hey, I built this new case study for you and you should send this to them because it's directly aligned with the things that they were talking about and like our angle at approaching this against competitors.
Yeah. That's very, very cool. That's super valuable too. Like having that nuance, like when the rep doesn't quite pick it up, but if a customer asks, can I change this to blue? And I know that like one of my competitors lets you change it to blue. Like I can probably start to sniff like, oh, okay. Like the reason they're asking that is they're also looking at XYZ competitor and that blue change is really valuable to them.
Yeah, an XYZ competitor told them to ask, can you change it to blue? Because they know that like we can't or something like that.
Exactly. Exactly. And then it's like, what I think the GTM engine can do really well is it starts to surface up those objections. Oh, hey, you know what? That's a really good question. We don't let you change it to blue right now, but here's why, and here's why it's a disadvantage, or whatever you want the person to say.
Or even, I mean, like, so the our big use case there too is to also, okay, so they want to change it to blue. Okay, well, how many other customers have asked to change it to blue? Right. Yeah. And what are those opportunity values worth? And what about closed loss opportunities where they ask to change it to blue that we could possibly relight? Right. Now, how does that information like make its way to product? We're on a total tangent from stages at this point, but it's totally topic. Like, how does product actually understand?
Shocking that we would go off on a weird tangent like this. That's never happened to us, Rob.
Yeah, no, never. But I mean, like, product usually doesn't understand that, right?
Right.
Like one, the rep has to go through the effort of creating the ticket with the product team, saying like, "Hey, customer X asked for blue."
Happens.
Right, it never happens, and then it's like a game of telephone anyway. And a lot of times, like they don't fully understand what that even means. Changing to blue is like a simple, example, but it's not like the reality of like what most of these requests are.
Of course,
And then product doesn't know how to prioritize that, even if they do fill it out, because okay, well, what's the use case? What's the value of that? Who else has asked for this? Like, what's our value there? Stacked rank against all these other things that we're trying to prioritize and triage and build. But if you can like extract that stuff directly, tie that to an opportunity, and have some value of like, hey, here's all the customer names and the total opportunity value associated with building this feature, and all this old like dead, closed loss opportunities that we could then relight. And then marketing needs to know, like from the words that people have used when they asked for this feature that can turn things blue, marketing needs to know, hey, who's asking? What type of persona asked for that? Like, why do they ask for that? Like, what's the value? Like, what's the ROI on that? And like, how does it make their life easier? What pain does it solve? Like, usually they're not aware of that either, right? Because these conversations happened in the sales process or maybe with customer success, and marketing isn't plugged into that, right? But then product sees that, they push the feature, and then they're like, hey, everybody, we have this new turn to blue feature, right? And then marketing can immediately know, hey, it was these ICP personas that asked and why. And sales knows, hey, here's all the opportunities. And customer success knows, like, here's all the customers that have historically asked for this blue color change that I need to notify.
Yeah. It reminds me, I did a project ages ago with Bazaarvoice and Philips. And what ended up happening was part of the pitch for Bazaarvoice was Philips. You remember Bazaarvoice? They were like the review site, review service. So they were doing this project. And one of the things they found was like with Philips was people were complaining about, they had a bottle warmer. And what people were complaining about was like the bottle warmer would kind of melt the plastic on the bottles, causing the baby bottles to leak. And they were able to surface that information through the reviews that people were giving, take that back to the product team. Product team made the change, it was a hugely valuable selling point to like any kind of CPG manufacturing company that we would go out to. It was an awesome story that we could go tell, and really provided a ton. It was like a really unique, right? Because like historically ROI was like, hey, like, give your people this opportunity to like write product reviews, and that allows you to go sell more because you're getting 5-star reviews. When they started taking that data and selling it back to the product team, like their valuation just went through the roof.
Awesome. 100%, man. I mean, because a lot of that, it's like great. I think like the main selling point there was probably like, hey, show people all the 5-star reviews that you get, right?
Yeah.
But then like I think even more interesting, it's like, okay, what about the negative reviews, right? Like,
and
how do we
that's
fix
what
those things?
Yeah. And that they were able to turn that into a positive and go, okay, we're going to take all your negative reviews, give it back to your product, give that data to your product team and tell them exactly what they need to tweak so that they can release better products faster. Like that became like another ROI story that Bazaar Voice was able to tell on that project. It was a fun project too.
Yeah, that is super cool. Back to the stages thing.
Back to sales stages though.
Yeah, the more exciting topic, right? I don't think, well, not ever, but like short term, we're not gonna actually get rid of sales stages. Like I think like there's too many things that are tied to that. Reporting, dashboards, you're gonna have to like rebuild all that.
Yeah.
There's like automation triggers that occur like when deals progress to certain stages and alerts that happen and like whatever. So you can't get rid of them, but we can get better at them. I don't think
sure. Oh, absolutely.
Like salespeople, like this is where we took the approach of like, okay, well, here's the suggested stage and here's why. Like, I actually think that you're in stage 4 because here's the things that we've done. And according to your process and all the entry exit criteria across your stages, we've checked most of those boxes. It fits most nicely, maybe not perfectly, but most nicely into this stage. You currently have it in stage 3, so move it up to stage 4. And I think just that, like lessening the cognitive load on the rep and saying like, hey, you're in stage 4, but now, hey, here's the next thing that you got to do, because to get out of stage 4, you got to do these things. And we've done some of these, but we haven't done these. So here's what I suggest you do next.
Yeah.
Because then you can start to build a system that like is more like process oriented, guides them through a process instead of thinking like, I'm in this stage. What do I need to do to get to that stage or like whatever,
Right.
Guide them through the actual process.
Yeah. Yeah. I'm in the water boiling stage of my macaroni and cheese.
Mm-hmm.
Right. It's, and that takes 3 to 5 minutes, maybe a little bit longer, maybe a little bit shorter, depending on what altitude I'm at and what kind of stove I have and all that good stuff. But, it's going to be somewhere in that. We just got to like microwave popcorn maker for Christmas. Like it's not quite 3 minutes, but 3 minutes and 15 seconds is too long. We're still trying to like dial it down to the right second.
Our last house, we had like an induction stovetop. Those things are amazing. Like it can boil like a giant pot of water in like 60 seconds. It's crazy.
Yeah, it's amazing. Oh, those things are so rad.
Yeah, now we have a gas one and like literally takes like 15
hours.
Yeah.
We've got gas at our house too. So I think like there's a really interesting thing that you're talking about there. Like your argument is like we should just get rid of the names. Like maintain the process, just get rid of the names. Like and have you guys done that at GTM?
Well, not worry about it. Yeah, we don't. We have stages, like we do. Like we use HubSpot like at the back end to like sync like things back and forth. And there's like a lot of process automation that we have in HubSpot. So like if there's like a contact becomes associated with an opportunity, they'll get like inserted into like a marketing sequence where they'll get like a bunch of custom content based on the things that they've said are important to them or like whatever. It's like we have stages, we just don't. That's not like how we look at deals though. Like we look at health. We look at forecast date,
which GTM surfaces, right?
Yeah, and then we look at like the gaps, right? Like what are the things that we haven't done yet that we need to do next?
Do you think that makes reps more confident? Like I feel like part of the reason like sales stages are like wonky is like the number of deals I've seen in my career that go from stage 1 to closed is like overnight is ridiculous. And part of it is like I know the reps are working it. They take this like uber conservative viewpoint of like how do they want to forecast. And I'm wondering like does your system make the reps more confident or does it make them more afraid that this system has like forecasted this at stage 4. I kept telling my boss it was stage 3. The system won, and now I look like the fucking idiot because I had it forecasted incorrectly.
Well, I mean, the information is there for them to consume, right? And I think like where we disagree, like that's where I made a post about this the other day, but like I think disagreeing with the reps is probably the most important thing that we can do, because the rep themselves can look at that and like rethink themselves, like, maybe this isn't where I thought it was. Maybe I got happy years, or maybe I'm sandbagging, or like whatever. And then somebody like you can look at that, like you can build a report that's like, hey, give me all the opportunities that are slated to close this quarter where the stage and the predicted stage are different, right?
Yeah.
Okay, that's interesting. I want to know that stuff, because that's where there's some disagreement. Then when you have your one-on-one with the reps, you can say like, hey, let's talk about this one, right? Like I see it said it should be in this stage, and this is the forecast close date, and this is why. That seems pretty reasonable. Tell me why you have a different thing here. Like it's not necessarily even about being right. It's about like, it's like lawyers, right? Like making a case. Like I think it's here. I think it's this healthy, and here are the things that need to be done. And then the rep can disagree, and I think that's totally reasonable. They might have information that like
and healthy.
They had a late night phone call or text message exchange that like we didn't collect or something, and so there's context that they have that we don't. Totally fair, right? But I think like that disagreement sparks conversation, and like it's more about like not tell me where this is at and trying to like just uncover information. It's like you're starting with a point where you have a deep understanding of what's going on, and then you can actually discuss the details and strategize, as opposed to like spin your wheels just discussing what's even going on.
Yeah, I like that. Okay. Yeah, I mean, I kind of get like getting rid of like the vernacular around sales stages and just having like a one process flow. Because like, again, if I'm making macaroni and cheese, like even that has like recipe stages. Like you're at step 1 versus step 2 versus step 3. Like in step 1, I've got to open the box. I've got to boil the water, pour 4 cups in, blah, 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 blah. Like that all happens in stage 1.
But imagine you had this box of mac and cheese and it had the same recipe and like same steps and everything on it. But sometimes you opened it up and it was like fully cooked and mixed and everything. And sometimes you opened it up and it was like, it just was like a bag of flour and you had to like make your own pasta with it and stuff. Right. But the same recipe was printed on the box no matter what. And I think that's like more analogous to what we see in sales.
That would be bad. Yeah. Cause like, you know, in your latter example, you just take the credit card and you process the deal and you move on. And in the former example, it's like, fuck man, I'm got to start rolling.
Yeah. Like, I don't know how to do that. I need to pull in other resources here to like, I need to pull in my SE who's like really good at like making pasta from scratch. You know?
Making it. Come on, Zakroff, make me some noodles.
Yeah. But I think that, I mean, that's the entire point I'm trying to make right there is like, it's everything is different. And sales stages are just like this monolithic definition that we try to slap on everything that like makes it awkward, and I don't think helps reps actually sell more. It is a shared language, and like there is like the end result you want, you know, warm mac and cheese that is edible. But the process to get there is like it's always different. Like there's no two deals are the same.
Yeah, and I 100% agree with that. Like that's an easy one to agree with. And I even don't even disagree with like how does the idea of a sales stage change with all of this data? It probably does, but I don't think that it necessarily goes away, because you want to be able to say like you want to be able to bucket your stuff in certain categories. But and even that might go away, because like you know the only reason, you know, to your point from originally, Rob, like the only reason you're bucketing is for forecasting purposes.
Yeah.
And if you can tell me like as soon as I hang up on a first call that this has a 14% chance of closing, I'll probably just take that and run with it, as long as like after a quarter it's accurate.
Yeah, exactly. And I think there's like two things that you probably truly want to understand, like forgetting about like stage and whatever.
Yeah.
It's like, how healthy is this deal? Like, are they actively engaged? And then like what level of effort is left to get and how long is it going to take to get this like actually signed and closed? Right. Like those are the two things you really care about.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. And so I think at some point it becomes more like a progress bar where it's like, hey, this deal's 80% done, right? And it's going to take us this long to get the other 20%.
I have that built in Salesforce at Dynamic Signal.
Really?
Like I'm a big fan of the progress bar. Yeah.
Yeah.
Now the progress bar, of course, is tied to the sales stage. So it's like, all right, like I'm 20% of the way there, 30% of the way, whatever it is. But like they were kind of made up numbers, but I do like the idea of the visual progress bar.
Yeah. like the visual progress bar, but like automatically. I mean, it has to, if it's based on sales stages, based on sales data, it's probably based on the rep's interpretation of that. But like my whole point is like it shouldn't be. It should be like objective. Some like outside observer who's like, I don't care whether this thing closes or not because like I'm just AI. Like I don't give a shit about you. But like here's my accurate interpretation of where things are at. Like you're at like 65% done, and like the 35% of the remaining work are these specific things. And I think it's going to take you this long because they said this, this, and this, and they said procurement takes this long typically, and they're planning on running a pilot in January, and like it's going to take this long.
Yeah,
like that's the really interesting information that Stage can't tell you.
I think the thing that you could do with GTM Engine that would be really cool. Do you watch or do you play chess?
Yeah, I used to play a lot. Yeah.
When you do the reviews and you can see the slider bar on the kind of who's leading, white or black, and it kind of goes up and down appropriately based on your position. Like, I would love to see that in a sales state, like a sales like deal review.
Yeah.
Like, because then you could like go back and you could watch the entire experience and you could see like, oh, I'm winning. Oh, they said this. Now I'm losing. Or I didn't ask the question the right way. And now I'm losing even more. And now I'm winning even more, or so on and so forth.
We have that. Actually.
Oh, do you really?
Yeah. So we have
there you go. It's a good idea.
Full history tracking and all this stuff. So you can actually see like how the forecast date has moved up and down, how like the health score has moved up and down, the interest score moved up, and even like the things that the reps put in, like the amount, the close date, their close date, and then even at like the individual contact level, where it's like, hey, this contact went from like detractor to strong champion, back to neutral, back to champion.
Oh, that's really cool. Okay.
Yeah.
Nice.
Yeah.
There you go. Genius idea. Cool.
Hey, great minds think alike.
I'll keep them coming. I think you sway on this. I don't think that having like defined, now that you and I have talked, I don't think that having defined stages is as important as I thought that they were coming into this. Like I actually think like you could get as long as you have a strong process and you understand like what the next steps are at each stage, like stage. I think that it can work without it.
Yeah. Here's the general recipe, general order. And I mean, because then it allows you to like think outside of this like one-dimensional linear path, right? It's like, hey, sometimes you'll encounter this, and when you encounter this, think about these things.
Well, this and that's what I mentioned at the beginning of the call. Like when I was at Cloudnera, I built two different sales processes, one for inbound and one for outbound. And they were completely different. It was, different deck, different pitch, different motions, different process, all of that good stuff. Right. Like what you're saying here is like with all of this data, like you could start doing that now on a deal by deal basis. Like, somebody like Nike comes in, they're going to need a much more complicated process versus early stage startup that just wants to buy it and play around with it.
Yeah.
Or vice versa. Like, spending $100,000 for an early stage startup is a big deal. Maybe they're going to think about it a lot more and spend a lot more time processing. $100,000 for a Nike is like, we'll experiment with it for 6 months, and if it works, great. If it doesn't work, that's great too.
Yeah, and having like the context of that too, and like what they said is their buying process, because I think that's ultimately you can have whatever like selling motion process that you want, but in the end, like the customer is the one that's like dictating how they're going to buy. And if they say, like Nike comes to you and says like here are the things that we have to do to buy this, you're not going to look at your sales process handbook and be like, no, it's not in our book, we're not doing that.
Right.
You're like, okay, that sounds good, let's figure out how to do that. Who do I got to like gathered internally to make that happen?
Yeah, that's exactly right.
Yeah.
Well, cool. Yep, I think you swayed me here, man. It did.
Awesome.
Well, appreciate the time as always.
Yeah, looking forward to the next one.
Enjoy your New Year.
You got any big plans?
Thank you. No, just lay low. I go to bed drink a couple glasses of wine and go to bed by 9 o'clock.
That's a good idea.
I get wild, Rob. I'm crazy.
I'm in the same boat as you, man.
How about yourself? You guys sticking around?
We're going to my in-laws.
Okay.
I always do a production. So.
And remind me, they live down here in the South Bay?
Yeah, they're in San Jose, like Evergreen area.
All right, cool. Well, let's get together and hang out.
Yeah, be around for a few days.
All right, awesome. Good. Well, I look forward to seeing you then. Give me a ring.
I'm in. Yeah.
All right, be good. Thanks for the time.